The day began like any other, quiet and uneventful. But deep down, I felt a storm brewing, though I couldn't pinpoint its source. My hands trembled as I poured myself a cup of coffee, staring blankly at the raindrops sliding down the window. It was raining the day I met Ryan, too. Funny how life circles back. I never imagined myself as one of those girls, the kind who falls for sweet words and charming smiles. But Ryan was different. At least, that's what I told myself every time he held me close, whispered dreams of a future together, and promised he'd never leave. I remember the first time we met vividly. It was at Sophia's engagement party. He stood across the room, laughing with a confidence that instantly drew people in. Our eyes met briefly, and in that fleeting moment, the world seemed to fade. "Hey," he had said, offering his hand. "I'm Ryan." That was all it took. I was hooked. Over the next 2 years, we became inseparable, or so I thought. Ryan wasn't just my boyfriend, he was my confidant, my anchor, my everything. We had our plans laid out, a small wedding by the lake, a cozy house in the suburbs, and maybe 2 or 3 kids running around someday. But life has a cruel way of shattering dreams when you least expect it. It was a Thursday afternoon when I first noticed something was off. Ryan had started coming home late, brushing off my concerns with vague excuses about work. "Just a rough patch at the office, babe," he'd say, kissing my forehead before disappearing into the shower. But I wasn't blind to the tension in his voice or the way he avoided my gaze. One evening, as I folded laundry, I stumbled upon a lipstick stain on the collar of his shirt. It wasn't my shade. My heart sank, but I pushed the thought aside, convincing myself it was a mistake. Ryan wouldn't do that to me, would he? Then, a month later, everything unraveled. I had been feeling nauseous and unusually tired, so I took a pregnancy test. 2 lines. I was pregnant. The news overwhelmed me with both joy and fear. Ryan had always talked about wanting kids, but were we ready? That night, I waited for him to come home, rehearsing how I'd tell him. When he finally walked through the door, his face was unreadable. "I need to talk to you," I said nervously, clutching the test behind my back. "Me first," he replied, his tone unusually serious. I froze. Something about his demeanor sent chills down my spine. He didn't sit next to me like he usually did. Instead, he stood by the door, his hands buried in his pockets. "There's no easy way to say this," he began, avoiding my eyes. "But I think we need a break." "A break?" My voice cracked. "I've been seeing someone else," he admitted, the words slicing through me like a knife. "Her name is Jessica, and I'm in love with her." For a moment, the world stopped. My chest tightened, and the air felt suffocating. "What are you saying, Ryan?" "I'm saying, I can't do this anymore," he said, his voice trembling. "Jessica and I are getting married." Married. The word echoed in my mind like a cruel joke. I staggered back, my hands trembling as I revealed the test. "I'm pregnant, Ryan," I whispered, tears streaming down my face. He stared at me, his expression shifting from shock to guilt. I didn't know. "And now you do," I said, my voice breaking. "So what are you going to do? Leave me and your child for her?" Ryan's silence spoke volumes. He couldn't even look at me. "I'm sorry," he mumbled before walking out the door, leaving me alone with nothing but the sound of my own sobs. The days that followed were a blur of pain and numbness. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't think straight. How could someone I loved so deeply betray me so cruelly? I replayed every moment we had shared, searching for signs I might have missed. Had I been too trusting? Too blind? Sophia came over one evening, her face full of concern. She had heard about Ryan and Jessica's upcoming wedding through mutual friends. "You need to let him go," she said, holding my hand. "He's not worth your tears." But it wasn't just about Ryan anymore. It was about the life growing inside me, the child who didn't ask for any of this. I had to be strong, not for him, but for us. As the months passed, I focused on preparing for motherhood. I decorated the nursery, attended doctor's appointments alone, and leaned on my friends for support. Ryan reached out once or twice, offering half-hearted apologies and asking if I needed anything. But his words felt hollow. Then, one day, I saw the wedding photos on social media. Jessica looked radiant in her white gown, and Ryan stood beside her, smiling like he had the world at his feet. My chest ached, but I refused to cry. He had chosen his path, and I would choose mine. On a chilly December morning, my daughter was born. She had Ryan's eyes, a painful reminder of the man who had abandoned us, but she was perfect in every other way. Holding her in my arms, I felt a sense of purpose I hadn't felt in months. I don't need him, I whispered to her. We don't need him. We'll be okay. And we were. Slowly but surely, I rebuilt my life. I found a job that allowed me to work from home, ensuring I could spend as much time with my daughter as possible. I reconnected with old friends and even started therapy to heal the wounds Ryan had left behind. One evening, a year after my daughter's birth, I received an unexpected message from Ryan. He wanted to meet, claiming he missed me and wanted to be part of our daughter's life. Against my better judgment, I agreed, hoping for some closure. When we met, he looked different, older, more worn down. Jessica had left him, he confessed, after discovering his affair with yet another woman. I made a mistake, he said, tears in his eyes. I want to make things right. But I had heard enough lies to last a lifetime. You didn't just make a mistake, Ryan, I replied calmly. You made a choice. And so did I. My daughter and I deserve better than someone who only shows up when it's convenient. As I walked away, I felt a sense of closure I hadn't expected. Ryan was my past, but my daughter and I were my future. And for the first time in a long time, I felt at peace.